if you haven't guessed, we're down south today and we're here not to look at the signalling but to look at some other operations controls. I'm in Woking. The signal box behind me is out of use. You'll see in a minute, it's actually staffed by the pigeons at the moment. Train just about to leave here off platform 5, but we're here to see the electrical control room the Southern Railway built in 1936 as part of its electrification scheme. Train's just leaving and we're going about half a mile that way, where you'll see inside this Art Deco Southern Region built control room for the electrical services. One of 5, not many left now. This one's listed. It's got a grade 2 listing on it by English Heritage, which is what's saved the building, and it's the open day in September 2024. So let's go for a wander and see what we can see. By the way, before I forget, you can see the Art Deco style that the Southern Railway employed in all of its stations as part of electrification works. So lovely Woking signal box in the station. A little bit of an oddball station. The main station entrance is on the wrong side of the town because the town expanded after the railway was built. So it's on the wrong side. So they built another side to the station as well to try and account for that as well. Busy little place. The control room was built between 1936 with a second portion added in 1937 for the Southern Railway's electrification schemes as one of 5 major control rooms for the Electrical Control Office. So without further ado, I'll let our colleague Nigel explain how it all works.
If I want to operate with this circuit breaker here, I need to dial up the telephone number of that piece of equipment. So on here, I call it. That sets in the train, and I can show. Unfortunately, our test set's not working, so you can't actually see it clunking over. It's not working today. But that would effectively start the selectors flipping around to connect these buttons here to the pieces of equipment to the piece of equipment at the substation. Now, in an older electromechanical telephone exchange, people here might remember in the 50s, 60s, 70s the old dial phones with the old electromechanical exchanges, and you could hear it go, couldn't you? Occasionally that selector could miscount. So sometimes you used to speak to a random person at the other end that you had to dial. And you didn't know whether you misdialed, right, or the system. So normally you blamed yourself, didn't you? You go, oh, I must have misdialed. But actually the system could miscount. One of the things on this system that we absolutely, that would then mean you're operating the wrong piece of equipment. You could be turning off something you don't want to turn off. More importantly, you might be turning something on that someone's working on that could kill someone. So we have to have an error checking system to make sure we're connected to the right piece of equipment. So in reality, what will happen here is this light will then come on to say, yes, you are connected to the right piece of equipment. In this case, we want to open it, so we would then give a pulse. Now, we've now connected in copper from here down a little pilot cable to the side. And we would then put a battery pulse down that cable to operate the circuit breaker. It would then instigate an opening command to make that light go from red to green to show the breaker is open. This is the 30s. It's not like a Strowger type telephone exchange in this particular example. It's much slower and the contacts and everything are much bigger. When we did away with the rotary converters in the Rains Park area on those original electrifications, we went to a remote control system for those as well, because we put molecular arc rectifiers in. We didn't have rotating machines, we didn't need people in the substations. So we put in the system. The concept of operation is very similar to this, but it uses 1950s, 1960s Strowger telephone technology, almost exactly. And we used to quite often rob people from British Telecom to come and help work us maintain it. Now that particular system we kept going until about 2 or 3 years ago. And we were running out of BT engineers to persuade to come and work on our system. In fact, many years ago, when my son was little, he's now 29, that shows how long ago it was, I went to a telephone museum in Guernsey, where they've got a Strowger relay system where you could dial a number at one end and you could see the selectors working and picking up the telephone at the other end. And it was brilliant. My son was fascinated with that. It was great. At the end of the course, I said, "Do you want a job? And have you got any spares?" He said, "What? You're not still using this?" The difference is, in this control room or at range bar, we don't use the exchange as much as a telephone exchange. So if you think of an old electrical exchange, part of the reason it needed to be replaced was it was worn out. Whereas effectively here, because of all the numbers that have been called, whereas here, in the day, you'd want this to be quiet. You'd want all the lights to be red, other than the ones that are open, because we're separating the system. Or we're doing a little bit of maintenance, but you'd want it to be quiet and nothing happening. The BC time in a control room generally is at night, when we've got track works and we have to turn off the conduct rail for track works. If there's an incident in the day, then yes, of course, that's where the operator comes into the road to try and, with the signaler, to work out what we can do to minimise the disruption, but also to get the power back on as quickly as we can as well. We lost 5 week grid, all these lights would go green, and we'd have all sorts of other chaos and everything out on here. The easiest way of seeing that is when you actually stand back and actually scan through and have a look, and then you can easily interpret what's happening. You can have one person down the lower end, there's just 3 lights, and the shade of group. Well, interesting. We don't want different workers doing that break was open, got people working. We would then put the do not operate cap over the switch, and that's a reminder for the electrical control operator that effectively work's taking place. They can't reclose that circuit breaker without agreement and position. And we'll see, you see over there, there is a form on there. At the same time, the Brighton Main line was done from Croydon down to Brighton, to Eastbourne, to Hastings. That was controlled from 3 bridges. We had a little control room at Hastings just to do that end, because again you couldn't get control that far, and there was one in Swansea. This control room was the last one to close, 97, where what we started to have was the risk of a wrong side failure. What we call a wrong side failure is an operator dialing up a piece of kit and the risk of a different circuit breaker operator. In other words, bypassing the integrity checks built in the system. So we would either need to have rewired and probably rebuilt part of this system, or the reality is we moved it to a more conditional system down this side. This is our test set where I could have shown how the system works. Unfortunately, it has a fault in it at the moment, and I can't show you. But this is effectively the not quite working right. So what this is the equipment that we've got in the control room here. So you see these black cabinets around the side of the control room. These are the transmitters. So this is the exchange sending from here, effectively. Excuse me 2 seconds. So this is the transmitter. These are the receivers that would effectively similar equipment that will be in the substations. So if you have a look at here, you can see there are segments here. Okay, these are effectively the telephone numbers, and what we want to do is when we dial up, when we call that by pushing the button down on the equipment, we're selecting this arm to go around to a particular location. Okay, so it's calling that telephone number. What we want is we want these receivers to go around in synchronism. So that when this one goes to the 3 o'clock position, for example, this one goes to the 3 o'clock position. If they don't go to the 3 o'clock position, then what will happen is the system knows it's not in synchronism, and these will go back to the 12 o'clock, and this will know, and it will go around again until it picks up at 12 and tries to get this to pick up at the right location. This is the error checking, if you like, that's in the system, and it's only when effectively these receivers and the transmitter are in synchronism, i.e. in the same place, will you get the white light to say, yes, you're connected to the right piece of equipment.
There's two, so it's a fail-safe or?
No, it's just that you can have more than one substation on one system. Very easy to scan around and see what's happening. Various types of telephone system, from the original telephone system to this, equal time. Some other sort of alarm systems actually on the desk here. This is the 1970s-ish, late 70s, probably KB80 type exchanges. And some direct lines, because communication's key for an operator. So sometimes there are direct lines to the signal, so you don't have to even dial up. There is a direct line, you pick the phone up, directly with the signal, because that communication needs to same to control, same traffic control. So that's another key area. What faults were there, what was done to mitigate the fault, how to get the power back on again, etc., etc. So this is a key document because if there's an investigation. We've got 3 substations, but instead of using this style of depiction, it uses the discrepancy. The discrepancy is what we use at range bar. So what this means is if that light behind there is illuminated, is not illuminated, it means that break is in the open position. Likewise, if the light's not illuminated, that will show in the open position. If I wanted to open it, I turn it to the open position, the light will come on because it's the discrepancy. And by actually moving the key, it's actually dialing up the telephone number using the scramble system on that particular piece of kit. And then I get options here to put pulses down. This is basically because the cabinet is reserved, it's used as a store.
Haven Street. Or Haven Street.
Yeah. No, I think in the box.
Yeah, I've got my uncle who used to work in there as well. Well, they all came across.
So one of the downsides of this system in terms of the pilot cables is that effectively it's a radial system. So if you lose anything on the pilot cable, there's a cut in the cable, there's a fault in the cable, you lose everything downstream. On a modern system, you feed it from 2 different ways, and it will just auto route to get back to that particular location. But here, it's one shot. So if, for example, we had a fault on the pilot, say between Reading and Early, we would lose control. Let's put it this way, so let's say we would then lose control of Redwood. Fed from here down the railway line to come to Reading. So The way around that would be you'd put someone in a substation. So we had to put people in the substations to do what we did in the early electrifications. The person would be there, they get a phone call, and they could do that level of, is anything tripped, is anything operating, do you want to operate it? The portable control unit was designed that if, say, for example, we've lost this cable, you could transport that to the other side of the gap and set up a little mini control room. Okay, so you could lug it to site, and then using these templates and these patch panels, you could actually set it up to give a very crude level of control. And an operator would then sit in that substation and control everything downstream.
When's that from?
That's from the 30s as well.
Wow.
Yeah. When this, so I think it was only used once in the war where a bomb destroyed a bridge and cut the cable and effectively lost things downstream of it, and it was then moved to site. Normally, it's such a pain to get this thing moved. It would be cheaper and quicker, much quicker to get the cable repaired, or just to put people in the substations. Bear in mind, our substations don't always have road access. We put them where we want them electrically. So where it's not in a town, it can be some distance from the nearest road. So as time's gone by, we try and put, for safety, we try and put more and more access points in for our staff. But you know, you're relying then on third-party landowners to agree for you to access their land. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it doesn't go well. It would pivot on that point, so that would be on the top of the running rope. To make contact between, so your short circuit goes from there to there.
And that just half? That is
Both.
Yeah. You'd have to have nerves to steer it.
So one of the training we always used to have to do is to actually operate it on a live system. So we did actually have a trainer sliding at Waterloo we used to use, which was a great place because the fault level was quite high there as well. We used to go quite a nice bang.